Well, 28-year-old primary teacher Sabina Nessa, of course, was murdered in Kidbrooke, south-east London on the 17th of September last year. After pleading guilty, her killer will be sentenced later today. Our London reporter, Alice Porter, will be attending the sentencing, and she joins us now outside the Old Bailey. Thank you very much, Alice. What can you tell us about what's going on then?
Good morning there. Well, the prosecution have already asked that Sabina have a sentence of 30 years because of the severity of this crime. I was speaking with the police earlier in the week, and they were looking at the fact that this was sexual and premeditated attack, and that's one of the reasons why this will be seen, and he will receive quite a hefty sentence from what we can understand. What we understand is over sort of 6 months ago, Sabina, he'd booked a hotel 3 days before the attack. Again, these are all situations that made it feel like this was premeditated. On the evening of her murder, he actually propositioned his ex-wife for sex in the car park of the hotel. She said no. He then drove around 80 miles to go to London, to southeast London, and was walking around a park for around 20 minutes before Sabina Nessa walked past, and there he fatally attacked her 34 times, hitting her with an emergency warning triangle that you have in a car. But en route to the murder, he'd actually stopped off at a supermarket and made a number of purchases, including a rolling pin. And when I was asking police about the significance of this, they think that this was him looking at potentially different murder weapons to see which would be more effective for this absolutely horrendous crime. So those horrendous details that have really come out in the last couple of days when I've been speaking to the police have again shown that this was a premeditated sexual assault. Although the pathologist could not say whether Sabina Nessa had been a victim of rape, she was found with her clothing sort of dishevelled, with items removed, which then again made them feel that it was of a sexual nature. So again, this was all very much suggesting this was something that was quite premeditated. But on the other hand, there's been something that's been quite shocking about this, is some of the randomness of it in so many ways. Yes, he did have a history of sexual violence and a history of towards his ex-wife, but he actually had no criminal record whatsoever in the UK nor in Albania, where he was from. Police got in touch with 16 countries to find out if they had no knowledge of him at all, and they have absolutely no records whatsoever. So in some ways it seems incredibly random and tragic that somebody would go from not having committed any crime at all, although, as I say, I do stress he had committed acts of domestic violence against his wife. But for someone with no criminal record to suddenly kill in this way, he had no known connection to southeast London. It's understood his car had actually never travelled there in the first place. He had no knowledge of Sabina Nessa before. She was very much, unfortunately, just the wrong person there at the time. But of course, the killing of Sabina Nessa 6 months after Sarah Everard raised a lot of important questions about women's safety in London. I don't know if you can see, but there are some women who are gathered here outside the Old Bailey today with me today because they wanted to highlight the issue of violence against women in London. So it will be interesting to see the sentencing will be at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And as I was saying, I think we can expect a very severe sentencing because of this very brutal murder and the way in which it took place 6 months ago.